Alright, guys, it's gonna be a late night video. And so, since it's late night, it's gonna be a serious discussion, an actual, not like a over the hedge movie review or anything like that. Not gonna be anything like that. It's gonna be a very serious topic we're gonna be talking about. And it's gonna be about my personal experience with nostalgia. So, nostalgia is, you know, we all know what nostalgia is, reminiscing about the past. Um, and I have two different versions of nostalgia that I have in my head. There's a good nostalgia and there's terrible nostalgia. Um, and how like nostalgia like is supposed to be a good thing for me. It's probably like the worst thing I've ever like. It's probably the worst thing ever. Nostalgia is probably my biggest weakness that I have in life, honestly. Um, Cause you know, I obviously I overthink a lot. You guys know how I just overthink. I think. All I do is think. So yeah, we're gonna talk about how nostalgia has is terrible for me at the very least. But at the same time, it's good for me. So yeah, nostalgia is a thing that I've been experiencing probably since I was 15, honestly, not even gonna lie. Um, you know, I didn't know what nostalgia meant. Everyone knows what nostalgia means. And I knew what nostalgia meant at that time, but I just thought me thinking about the past and thinking about the good times I had, I just thought that was me, you know. I don't know. I didn't think it was me like I was thinking nostalgically. Um, but I don't know. It's now I think about it. Yeah, I've been thinking like I've been feeling nostalgic since I've been 15. That ass. And uh, I'd say the first good times I had in my life were in elementary. Believe it or not, even though as I think most of you know, I'm gonna shit talk elementary. I fucking hate elementary. I hated elementary, not when I was living it, but what I learned of in the past, what I learned in the future, and now that whole sense of elementary, that whole everything that I felt in elementary did not feel right. Like it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Because I was not liked in elementary. I was actually bullied pretty badly and behind my back. So yeah, but learning about that, I can't help but still feel nostalgic over it. I reminisce about about my good times with my old best friend Vincent in first and second grade. I can't help but reminisce about you know all the friends I had, and even though they weren't my friends, even though they didn't like me, I still had good times with those people. I still had good times with them. So I can't help but feel nostalgic because at that moment when I was living in that moment, all I felt was happiness. But now I can't help but feel that that wasn't I can't help but feel it wasn't real because it wasn't. But at the same time, I can't let go of my happiness, my euphoria during those moments. I can't let go of sixth grade. I can't let go of like I can't let go of those great ass memories that I made in sixth grade with people that I haven't seen in a billion years, honestly. Since sixth grade ended, um, I can't let go of that. Um, so like even though I shouldn't feel nostalgic for elementary because of how shitty it actually was, my 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 sixth to yeah, 12, 13, 6 to 13-year-old me can't help but reminisce about can't help but reminisce those years because even though I'm not supposed to like those years, even though I'm not supposed to, I can't help but feel nostalgic. I can't help but feel nostalgic about my SeaWorld trip. I can't help but feel nostalgic about all the times we went to the library. I can't help but feel nostalgic about playing soccer every single day during recess and lunch. I can't help but feel nostalgic about playing dodgeball. I can't help but feel nostalgic about just being with the people, being with my friends. Um, I can't help but feel happy, even though now that I know that none of it was real. I can't help but feel nostalgic about it. And so it's like a double edged sword of you know, I miss those times, but at the same time, I shouldn't because those people didn't like me. Those people bullied me. Those people made fun of me behind my back, even though I was just some smart kid that knew his shit then. Um, and like when I transitioned to middle school, I can't help but feel nostalgic about that, even though those were the worst years of my life. Those were like where I was so fucking depressed. I was not happy at all. I couldn't help but not be happy. Like sure there were like I hid how the fucking depressed I was. I hid just how and much in pain I felt during that time. And at the same time, I can't help but feel nostalgic. I can't help but feel nostalgic um about having an actual friend and from elementary school and becoming best friends with him in middle school. I can't help but feel nostalgic about being in those classes um, with my classmates. I mean, they aren't friends now, but they were friends then. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when me and three of my friends decided to do some stupid shit in history class. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when it started raining and PE, and all we did was play Brawl Stars during PE when it was raining. I can't help but feel nostalgic about those lunch table conversations that we had. I can't help but feel nostalgic about just everything that happened in that time, in that seventh grade time. And it gets even worse in eighth grade because I feel even more nostalgic about eighth grade. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when my friends bought me a do rag and put it on me for my birthday. I can't help but feel nostalgic about the first time I ever had friends over for my birthday. I can't help but feel nostalgic about what it meant to actually like be lights. I can't help but be nostalgic you know um, about doing my history project with my best friends and just having a great ass time. I can't help but feel nostalgic about sitting in history class and just reading Florida Man headlines every single day in class instead of doing our project. I can't help but feel nostalgic about meeting meeting Alan and meeting and thinking about and knowing in later times that he would become one of my best friends, that we would become best friends in high school, and he'd be there throughout my whole high school life. He was my first friend in high school. You can't help. I can't help but feel nostalgic over those middle school years, even though those were the worst times of my life. Those were times where I felt so fucking deflated, where I felt just not happy at all. But I can't help but feel nostalgic because those times I did have happiness. It was just it's just I can't help but feel nostalgic about it. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when was sitting in Abbott class and I showed my friends this rat meme or whatever, and we fucking died a whole class about it, and we died about it for 2 weeks. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when we went to the UCLA football game, and at the end of the game we did our PE chants. I can't help but feel nostalgic about you know all the all the times I spent with my friends in PE and just having a good ass time. But just like elementary school, middle school, I had some fucking horrible times. It was the worst time of my life. Uh, I have this trauma of this girl I used to like. Realizing how much damage she did to me, I can't help but feel nostalgic about talking to her, and you know, even though she caused so much trauma for me, she put me through so much turmoil. I can't help but feel nostalgic about that. Um, you know, um, Arguing with my science teacher, I can't help but feel nostalgic about that because even though he was a dick, and but at the same time when we had fun in that class, I can't help but feel nostalgic about that. When I would play jokes with him, and um he like pick 20 points off or whatever. I can't help but feel nostalgic about over that. Um, and so it's just like elementary. It's like that double edged sword where nostalgia, like I have such good nostalgia, but at the same time I have such bad nostalgia. Um, that like it's not good. I know it's not good, but like I can't help but have it. And then like even in high school, like I'm starting to reminisce about high school. I'm starting to feel nostalgic about high school. Like I can't help but reminisce about like when I first started talking to Alan, when we first made a group of Alan and Alex and Daniel and Catherine and Melanie and Jeremy and all that, like in those times, and Johnny, and and my friendship I had with Mr. Hernandez. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. I can't help but feel nostalgic over connecting with so many of my best friends, connecting with so many great people. I can't help but feel nostalgic about even my the first homecoming dance. Where I finally like let myself out. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. I can't help but feel nostalgic over the fuck, what's it called, the Romeo and Juliet play that we did. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. And when I met one of my other best friends, I can't help but feel nostalgic about even though my fifth period teacher hated me, and I fucking hated the person I grew. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. I can't help but feel nostalgic over just so many things. And it gets even, and like as high school goes on, it gets even worse. I can't help but feel nostalgic when we first started that group. I can't help but feel nostalgic um, when we would play Gartic Phone in Mr. Wright's class. I can't help but feel nostalgic over um, just like that lunch table, that lunch group, the N word table, the McGill Mite table, as we called it. I can't help but feel nostalgic about eating our lunch in the rain at that table. I can't help but feel nostalgic about these group of guys that we like were scared of, and we would go far away from them. I can't help but feel nostalgic over just sitting in art class and fucking doing whatever and me not doing my work. I can't help but feel nostalgic over the fact that we had the worst physics teacher in the history of teachers, and yet I we still had our fucking fun. Like we made that class enjoyable. I can't help but feel nostalgic or you know like stressing out about our schoolwork. I can't help but feel nostalgic um about our fuck, what's it called, our when we went to go see Lightyear in the theaters. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. You know, like moving on to senior year, I can't help but feel nostalgic of seeing just watching people, of making fun of people. Like whether it was the couple or whether it was a Rabbit, or I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. I can't help but feel nostalgic over just like all the events I had. Like I can't help but feel nostalgic over the senior picnic. I can't help but feel nostalgic over prom, winter, what winter, whatever the fuck that winter dance was. I forgot what it's called. And homecoming. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that. I can't help but feel nostalgic over graduation. I can't help but feel nostalgic, especially for grad bash. Grab ass is the worst nostalgia I've ever felt because it's when I was most happiest. But all I can do is reminisce about that time, about that day, and think about how that was one of the best days of my life. Um, and it, it, it's such good nostalgia. I don't have bad nostalgia in in high school, but it's not good because all I do is reminisce. All I think about is the good times, and I keep on going back to the past. And I know that's not a good thing, but I can't help but stop doing it. I can't help but stop doing it. Um, and even then, even like in college now, I feel nostalgic about my first year seminar class, about how great that class was. I can't help but feel nostalgic over my English class that I had last semester. Um, Only a couple of months ago, I had last semester. I can't help but feel nostalgic over that because of how much fun it was. And that's just going over nostalgia in like school. I haven't even gotten into like nostalgia of like just generalness. I can't help but feel nostalgic about when I first watched Ninjago, of when I would watch PBS Kids, like Wildcrats and War Girl and Super Y and Dinosaur Train. I can't help but feel nostalgic of watching those old Disney shows like Lab Rats and Mighty Men and Good Luck Charlie. I can't help but feel nostalgic over watching those Nickelodeon shows like Ed and Eddie, or no, wait, no, that's Cartoon Network. Like Sam and Cat, like what other that one reality show that kind of had, and it was like it was like in a hotel. I can't help but feel nostalgic about Cartoon Network. I can't help but feel nostalgic about Ed and Eddie. Of watching Ed and Eddie as a kid, of watching Ninjago as a kid, of watching um, Gumball, and just so many. And you know, I can't help but feel nostalgic, and that's my big problem because I have a nostalgia collection on TikTok with like over 600 edits, just like nostalgia things, and it's just like I reminisce too much. I know I reminisce too much, and even then, like overthink. I think I think about what would happen if I did something differently that day. I think about what would happen if those people actually liked me, or if those people actually bullied me in front of me? What would happen? I definitely wouldn't feel nostalgic over it. Probably not. I don't know. Like middle school. Like what if I wasn't so fucking depressed? Like what if I actually did? What if I actually did? Have the fucking balls to to let my crush know how much I liked her. Like earlier, like way earlier. How different would it have been if if I didn't become friends with Alan in high school? How different would it have been if just so many things happened? How different would my life be? And so that's my problem. I have such a big fucking problem with nostalgia and just thinking and overthinking and just putting the fake scenarios in my head I that are way too far gone in the past. I can't do anything to change those. Like, what would have happened if I stayed in contact with my middle school friends? How different would my life be now? What would have happened if I didn't meet my other friend group at my senior picnic? What would have happened if I never became friends with like Sire and Alex and Javon? How different would my life be? How different would my life have been if I didn't join a Among Us group chat uh, and quarantine, and I never met uh, Raimona. Like it's all I think about when it becomes late at night. That's all I think about. All I do is think about the past, and I reminisce, and I just overthink and I put fake scenarios in my head and I start putting questions in those scenarios when I shouldn't because it's too far gone in the past. The past is the past. I can't change anything about it. Um, but I can't help but just be nostalgic. So much. My life is nostalgia. My brain is filled with nostalgia. All I can think about is the reminiscing of the past. And so, like, I realize how big of a fucking problem my my feeling for nostalgia is. I just don't know how to let it go. You know, I don't know how you can let it go. I don't. And so, you know, nostalgic is usually seen as a good thing, and it usually is a good thing for most people. I'm sure it is. But for me personally, nostalgia has to be the worst thing for me. It has to be my biggest weakness because of who I am as a person, because of what I do as a person, what like who I am as a person. All you guys know how much I overthink, how much I put fake scenarios in my head, how much my mind is just running at like the speed of light. And so I just wanted to talk about, you know, how nostalgia is good for me, but at the same time, nostalgia is the worst thing for me. How it's my biggest weakness. And so that was my rant. Basically, to sum it all up, nostalgia kicks my ass. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever will stop reminiscing. I don't know if I ever will get that feeling of nostalgia out of my head. I don't know how I could, to be honest. Because I know, like, once I see something old, I get put in my feels and I reminisce about those good times. And, there's so many good quotes about nostalgia. Um, and so it's a pain in the ass. Nostalgia is a pain in the ass, but it's also the best thing that's ever been created, probably. So yeah, that's just wanted to talk about this whole nostalgia thing, about and what nostalgia means to me and my experience with nostalgia. So yes, I'm so glad this video did not go over. I thought this video was gonna go forever, but it did not. So we're good. Um, anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I know nobody's gonna see this at 2 a.m., but maybe more people will watch it than the Over the Hedge because it's like the loading time is like cut hat in half basically. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and if you reach the end of this video, um, comment down below. Uh, French fries. Yeah, comment down on French fries down below if you reach the end of this video. Um, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. My last video for probably a bit. Not this one, but my next one, because this Thanksgiving break is gonna be ending, and I need to lock in. So yeah, bye bye.